Okay, so I'm just gonna haul ass. I'm just gonna throw all my skill at this, along with doing the hair. And I want to talk about something a little bit outside of what we've been doing, which is just to answer the question, what is realism? That there's specific shapes on the head that need a core shadow, and they are these specific shapes. So actually, let me map out the shapes. So the brow bone is a cylinder, all right? So that means that it's going to have a core shadow right there. And then the eyeball is a ball, right? And it's going to have a core shadow right there. The nose is kind of like a rectangular prism, triangular prism. It's going to have a cast shadow right there. And this is that shape, whatever. And then the lips are two cylinders on top of each other, and they're both going to have their own core shadow right there. The head is one big sphere, and it's going to have a core shadow running across it. Each hair is going to cast a cast shadow just along there and along there. Plus also there might be extra shadows moving in between the hair. But I also want to add a little bit of story, make her look a little bit more interesting. So I think I'm going to just do some fun stuff with the expression and the gesture. So I'm going to make her tilting her head. And I'm just adding realism. That's all that I'm doing. That's all this really is. So find the brow bone and just radially bring down those shadows. So I know where my map is, so I'm just going to turn it off so I can focus. But obviously you guys want to keep yours on if you're not sure where to put these shadows. So the light's coming from above, top down, and then as a collective shadow, I'm going to make sure the whole head itself has a shadow. So that's one of the bigger things that makes realism happen. And then the eye socket as a whole needs a lot more shadow in it. So I'm just throwing a big blob of shadow just to show you how important that shadow is. But then we delete away from, we delete out of that big blob areas that we know reflect light. So the upper eyelid, the white of the eye, smudge, 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 get rid of them, smudge, smudge, smudge. You always want to smudge at the start of the eyebrow just here because it just does not look natural when it's just this big outline stenciled. You want to blend away. And then I'm blending away the majority of the brush strokes I made for the nose bridge. And then I'm going to add a big soft block between the eyebrows for that dip just there. And when it comes to stylized eyes, the most important shadow to have is the eyelash shadow. And you can new layer, darken, get like any old gray value, doesn't matter. And you're adding in that shadow. I'm just gradually with a soft brush dropping down towards the edge this shadow. It's insane. Cast shadows, same thing for the hair. I'm going to make the basic shape we see in the hair. And just like that. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. Go crazy. It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be there. Okay, and then I'm going to pick that shadow color I found, whichever one. I'm going to paste it there. I'm going to reduce the opacity. I'm going to saturate it just a little bit more and make it just a bit more pink. And then filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And what you want to do is just make sure that the blur, it feels a little bit sharper than the one on the neck. And then reducing that opacity all the way down. And just doing a couple more passes with the blur just to make sure I have like enough blur that it's still making sense. And then with my soft brush, I kind of just erase away some of it just so it feels a little bit like it's fading away further it gets from the hair. Next thing I'm going to do is just kind of start breaking up this hair a little bit. My eraser on block. You want to let most of those hair brush strokes end out on the outside and then erasing so that you can get that nice little feathered look. So I'm letting brush strokes leak over and then I'm going back and deleting at them. So we have this really, really cool incorporation of the background value. So it makes it look like it's receding into that black background. I really want to add a shadow to, because they're copying the shape of the head. So I'm grabbing this, using soft brush, and then just darkening and then deleting at wherever there was space between them. So again, we're borrowing the behavior of hair. We're not actually trying to be realistic. Here's another dark one. Here's a couple dark ones that I have to blend because this has like no dimension. A couple of light ones and dark ones just there. So you count these small strokes, just one or two tops. You can't just do this. You cannot do that. That'll kill it. You have to place strategic brush strokes here and there that make all that difference. And then towards those fringed ends, I'm just adding a bit of soft brush, just again to make the head feel like it's emerging from those areas. And then for anime style, you want to add a bit of lashes at this point because it's going to look very funny without them. So I'm just adding a little bit because the eyes are so big, we should be able to see some detail like that. But I'm not adding a bunch, I'm just adding a touch of them. So just one or two clumped together. And then I'm going to reduce their opacity so that they don't eat up the scene. So this is semi-realism, I repeat once again. And it's how you balance, it's about how you balance the presence of the core shadow while not losing the presence of your style. So before it wasn't semi-realism, maybe because of the texture you had on your hair, you thought that, but it was flat. And didn't really have a light environment. There were no cast shadows. There was general blending around the crease, but that wasn't really it. Your lines were still present. After, this is semi-realism when the style is intact, but the shadows are realistic. So before, after, this is what it means when you study shapes like these. Learn what they do in light, and then from there, obviously, you can learn whatever extension, whatever extends out of these forms as from object to subject, you'll know how to apply the shadow. So nothing will ever sneak up on you. Any style, any iteration of any style, you'll be able to add realism to it if you just study forms and study what shadows do on certain shapes. To submit your work for Critique Hour, this kind of stuff that's happening in the community right now, we're doing texture studies, we're doing stuff like hair, we're doing stuff like clouds, we're doing stuff like gold, metallic surfaces, all the stuff you need to know how to do in order to paint character designs. Remember that map I drew at the start of the class? So join us on the community tab here. Click on the join the Discord server or go to the subreddit icon to submit some of your texture studies. It's not hard to do texture studies. What's hard is just starting it. It's just getting yourself to get there. The reason why they're so important is because there's things certain textures do you just can't learn on a face. And though the face teaches you everything, there's just some stuff that you have to be you have to study to experience. There's no substitute for it. However, there's like only 10 big textures you really have to learn, less than 10, and you learn them all. Like if you study clouds, you can draw smoke. If you study hair, you can draw grass. Do you know what I mean? So there's only so many iterations of the same pattern, the same behavior of material. I'll let you guys go. Thank you everyone for coming. If you guys learned something today, if you guys had fun, please, please, please consider supporting me on Patreon. That's just $1 a month is all I'm asking for. And you may say, oh, the next guy will do it, but they won't. Please consider doing it yourself. And that's just for the support of the community to keep it going, to keep everything moving in the right direction. Hopefully notifications start going out and things change for this channel a little bit for the better. Thank you guys for coming. I'll see you guys on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time for another texture themed class. Bye guys.